Hey everybody, it's Nathan Selove with another edition of Autism Actually Speaking. Today I want to talk about a subject that I have mentioned in passing in other videos, but I've had a lot of people commenting asking, hey Nathan, what do you mean by this? Self-accommodation. Self-accommodation, simply put, is doing things that accommodate your disability without any outside accommodations. Basically, things that you don't need to have access to in an official capacity in order to use to accommodate your disability. So like when an autistic sways back and forth in order to stem, they're self-accommodating. So today I want to discuss positive self-accommodating, a few examples of negative self-accommodating, and then discuss why, as a whole, we need to let autistics self-accommodate without judgment. Now, there are several ways in which an autistic might self-accommodate in a positive way. One example that I mentioned earlier was swaying back and forth. Some other examples might be autistics petting their own hair, or beard for that matter. They might do the handshaking, or they might shake their leg a little bit. The important point is that a lot of autistics find ways in order to stem by themselves without necessarily needing something from the outside. And when those are not inflicting self-harm or harm upon others, they should really just be allowed to their own devices. Now, unfortunately, there are sometimes examples of negative self-accommodation. For example, when I was younger, I used to chew on my shirt to stem, and this would leave me with very messed up collars on shirts because it had rips all through them. Some more intense examples of this could be instances of self-harm. When some autistics have meltdowns, they might bang their heads against the wall, and that can be very harmful to them. Now, my parents tried several methods to get me off of the shirt chewing. One of them was that they had me chew gum instead. Ultimately, though, it was probably the service dog that helped me put a stop to it. So sometimes negative self-accommodation can be alleviated or ended by positive self-accommodation or even positive outside accommodation. Now, one point that I definitely want to get to in this video is the fact that sometimes positive self-accommodating can be disincentivized by parents that want their kids to appear normal. And these could be well-meaning parents that just don't want their kid to be picked on. But if an autistic is trying to find ways of stemming and they're doing something that does not cause them physical harm or anybody else physical harm, such as simply shaking their leg, and a parent sees that and tries to get them to stop doing it, then they have lost that stem power. And when an autistic is not able to stem properly, the sensory overload that was causing that stem behavior in the first place will build up and eventually could turn into a meltdown. So for the most part, autistics should be left to their own devices when it comes to positive self-accommodating. I hope that this video has cleared up any confusion that any of you all might have had over positive self-accommodating. I hope that it helps give autistics the agency in order to find ways of positive self-accommodating. I hope that I've convinced parents to just kind of let your kids self-accommodate as long as they're not harming themselves. And I hope I've convinced the general public to not judge an autistic when they see them doing some of these STEM behaviors. Well, that's today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this episode, please give it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other stuff. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, support me on Patreon. In the meantime, if you have any questions or topics you'd like addressed, please leave them in the comments below or message me on my Facebook, also linked below. And remember, if you have 45 tabs opened up on your web browser, all leading to a bunch of fan fiction sites that you spend all of your time reading, you might be autistic.